we're doing yesterday in today's economy. The essence of the tax reform bills is to eliminate the influence of colonial rule on Nigeria economy. Ongoing reforms in the economy, it says that we want this country to grow. There is no way out of it unless we invest in our today's prosperity and opportunity. On security, it was the question was thrown to him as to his plan on probing some security chiefs who may have been found wanting or the other. He said, "Today I have confidence in my security architecture. It is very unfortunate that decades of wanton killings. I remember when I jumped into the campaign, I had to stop the campaign to pay condolence visits to Maiduguri, Katsina, Kaduna, Yola. Today, you can travel on road. Before now, it wasn't possible. It took one incident to mess up and organize the environment." That what the president said as to security. On the issue of removal of fuel subsidy, he says that we are spending our future, we are spending our generation's fortune. We were not investing. We were just deceiving ourselves. The reforms is necessary. The president says he has no regrets in the subsidy removal. Let's take a listen to what he said on the removal of fuel subsidy.
I don't want to question people with five limousine type of vehicles on the roads. Well, we should teach management with all our programs. We have to manage our resources within our means. There is no way out that you give out fuel and allow all the entire neighboring countries at Father Christmas. I don't have any regret whatsoever removing the subsidy. It is necessary. We cannot spend our future generations' investment upfront.
But do you think it should have been phased, done in bits?
It is part of the fear that is unnecessary. Phased, no matter how you cut it or you slice it in segments, you still have to meet the bills. So, cut your coat strictly to your size. It's what we must manage. Management is the
Cut your coat according to your size. That's the quote there from the president speaking about the removal of subsidy. He also spoke about some other issues, especially the budget deficit. He addressed the issue of borrowing. As a matter of fact, he said borrowing is not criminal, that it is necessary for the nation's development. The president also made condolences. He said when he was reacting to the stampede incidents across the nation. As a matter of fact, the stampede happened in three geopolitical zones. It happened in the west, it happened in the east, it happened in the north. And that has raised some certain concerns as to the generality or the uniformity in the hunger and hardship that is affecting many Nigerians. The reaction of the president is condolences to those who lost their family or who lost a family member, but it is good to give. I have been giving out food stuff, commodities, etc. in body loan. If you know you don't have enough to give, don't attempt or publicize it. The president also blamed the organizers of this event, saying that safety measures should have been put in place. On budget, he said, "We have headed the wrong road in the past. I don't want to look at that. I want to think about prosperity for our country. I want to think about tomorrow, today." He says that we have serious infrastructure deficit. If you don't put money on a long-term margin project, a long-term business, you don't have the short term to manage a long-term business. It is smart. That's wrong. So it's not smart, rather, and that's wrong. Those were the words of the president. So these issues, these developments will be getting clarity as to. Many have said the president did not address some of the concerns being raised, and many have also said the president did well by explaining. But what many have also taken from the presidential media chart is that despite all claims, or this media chart is a way, many have taken it as a way of answering the question as to, is the president really aware of what many Nigerians are going through at this time? In a form of way, it is as many have described it as a way to show that the president is bothered as to the problems many Nigerians are facing. When you look at some of the claims by some quarter that the president is not being given appropriate report as to what is happening outside Aso Rock. Now that the president has made reactions in his first presidential media chat, many have said, we can see the president as listening to the plight of the people. But like I said, many have also questioned some of this. So these conversations, we'll be having a discussion around it elaborately in the course of the program. Stay with us, everyone. After this short break, I introduce my guest and we begin.
Hello, good people of Ekiti State and its environment. For your private, political, family, or club meetings, and so on, of not more than 50 to 100 participants, we introduce to you Adamimogo Event Hall. Yes! Right at Oladoyin Palace, Adamimogo 107.7 FM's compound, Ido Ekiti. Ample parking space, good security, clean environment. You also have the opportunity to book for a media publicity of your event on our fast-growing social media platforms. All these for a talking. Simply visit us at Oladoyin Palace, Ido Ekiti, or call the following numbers for more inquiries: 0803-526-5812 or 0916-340-0878 or 0806-511-4430. You can also call 0806-380-8891. Adamimogo Event Hall. We are waiting for your patronage.
Welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, the follow-up on Adamimogo 107.7 FM Idoikiti is what you've been listening to at this time. And we've been talking about, or what I say we will be talking about, is looking at some of the issues that were raised during the first presidential media chat of President Bola Tinubu, where he addressed so many issues. Talking about the condolence that I mentioned earlier, this is the president's reaction to the Stampede incident, where he fought the organizers of this event, saying that they should have, done much better. Let's take a listen to what the president says.
Disciplined in our society. Okay. Condolences to those who lost the family members. But it is good to give. Every society, even in America, they have food banks. They have hungry people. In Britain, they have food banks. They have warehouses. They are organized. They take tokens to be in line and take turns to collect. It's unfortunate. We just have to. It's a reflection in our bus stops where we don't even want to be on queue before we rush into the vehicle. It is very sad, but we continue to learn from our mistakes. To me, I see this as a very grave error on the part of the organizers. But things are improving. It doesn't kill our happiness for this season. It should be. We should just get on with it.
Welcome back. That's the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's reaction towards the stampede that occurred last week across several parts of the country. So that's where we're going to be beginning the conversation from this morning. And joining us to have the conversation is a public affairs analyst. He joins us virtually. His name is Mr. Perez Sheun Adekunle. Good morning and welcome to the follow-up.
Good morning. It's good to be here.
It's always nice to have you join us. Now, let's begin with your first reaction towards the president's media chat. Hello. All right. It appears that we... Okay. Thanks for joining us again. Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning. It's good to be with you this morning.
Many thanks for joining us. Now, let's begin with your first reaction towards the first presidential media chat yesterday with President Bola Tinubu. What's your first take? Hello, can you hear us? Hello, can you hear us? All right, it appears that the network is quite funny this morning, but we'll try to reconnect with Mr. Sheun Adekunle there, who is a public affairs analyst. We'll try to reconnect with him. We want to get his opinions as to some of the issues raised during the presidential media chat yesterday. Hello, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you. The network has been acting up. I can hear you clearly.
All right, good. So I was asking yes, I can.
Okay.
So I was asking that what's your first reaction or your first submission as to the first presidential media chat of President Bola Tinubu yesterday?
To some extent, it is applaudable that for the first time the president is granting a media chat to a group of selected journalists. If it were another client, we would have expected that a media chat is usually different from a national broadcast. because in media chat, the president gets to field questions from journalists, and then the people expect to hear the president address critical issues that might not be addressed during the broadcast. And so it was applaudable that the president granted one. But again, the general feeling, not just from me, but from most people, is that the president's media chat yesterday was just like any other presidential broadcast that he has done at the beginning of the year, during the Independence Day celebration, during the Democracy Day celebration, and whatever names you call them. It was the president came prepared to field questions, and it looked like he had answers to every question. However, to a large extent, the president was largely defensive of his policies. It would have been a good time for people to hear from the president, from a passionate leader, a leader who understands the plight of citizens, especially at this point in time where poverty has become life, where people are complaining of hunger. And still, the cost of living is high, inflation is moving up the ladder, as if nobody is going to stop it. And we would have expected that the president would come with from an emotional context to pacify the people, to make them understand that things will get better. But again, if you look at all of the talking points from the president's media chat yesterday, he was very defensive. He came with that body language of whatever I have done it, and nobody's going to change it. It's fine. In most cases, government policies are not easily changed like that. For example, a lot of people have called for the return of subsidy, and I've told them severally that we might just have to forget about subsidy. As long as it has been removed, let's just forget that we have to chart a new course.
All right.
But again, the president needs to show that he's a servant leader, he's someone to understand the plight of the people.
All right.
And that was what was lacking from yesterday's media chat.
All right. Before we even get to the nitty-gritty of the conversation yesterday, are you because there have been reactions as to say that you would understand that in some quarters there have been claims as to the president being denied or not given proper feedback as to some of the things that are happening outside, especially outside the coffers of the Aso Rock presidential villa. So with this development, would you say the president is fully aware, or would you counter that narrative of not being properly informed?
Well, I think before now, like you said, there have been insinuations going around the polity that the president is probably not aware of the things that are going around Aso Rock, the presidential villa, and that maybe some people are in charge and all of that. But again, from yesterday's media chat, it was clearly and apparent that the president is actually in charge, and that in fact there is probably the blame behind a lot of the policies that have been implemented and even sent to the National Assembly in the last 1 year plus. It showed that he was aware of all of the things, that it showed that he was capable, that he was in full control of whatever is happening. There's also a possibility that the president has been pledged, which is not unusual, if you get me. It's also a possibility that the president has been pledged before the media chat, which is something that the special assistants on media and other allied positions need to do. But even if he has been pledged on something that he was not aware of, his posture yesterday, his demeanor, his language, the way he arranged things, you know that the president is aware. And I think that should lay to sleep those situations about the president not being aware of some of the things that are happening around him.
Yeah, at your first take, you said the president, some of the things he said, you mentioned that he said, I've done this and I've done it. Shouldn't the president be emphatic and be bold as to some of the decisions he has taken so far?
Yeah, of course. The president needs to be assertive. A leader needs to be bold. A leader needs to stand firm and all of that. It's also a quality of a leader. But again, the leader is also in the context of a democratic government, a servant leader. Don't forget that one of the basic tenets and components of a democratic government is that power belongs to the people. Only that in our own place here, the power does not actually belong to the people. Even the most potent weapon on the hands of the people, which is the election, is usually taken away from them. And that is why you can see the president, not just the president, several African leaders also have the same kind of posture. And that is what we saw yesterday. Fine, he has to be assertive on some policies, but again, there should be diplomacy, there should be a diplomatic strategy to tell people, when people are angry, you don't just come and assert things on them. It gives the posture, the color of a despotic leader, like a military government, and we all know that we're not a military government. And so, fine, he has to be assertive, but not fully, because people are angry and people are hungry. And the president should do better on that.
Now let's get into the nitty-gritty of that conversation with the president yesterday. Yesterday, the conversation started with the issues around the stampede that happened across the country, and the president blamed the organizers, saying that, as a matter of fact, he has done several giveaways at body law, and cases like this did not happen. Now that issues like this are now happening, that organizers need to, up their game when doing so. Or if they do not have enough, those were the words of the president, that if they do not even have enough, they should not even publicize it. Your take on that?
Well, when I heard the statement yesterday, I was like, President, this is your call. Well, why do you have to bring that in? Of course, the president has, like you said, in the context of philanthropy, you cannot take it from the president. In fact, his house at Bodilon has always been like a pilgrimage, especially when he's around. You see people troop out, because there is always this sharing of things that we can call palliatives, But again, the president does not need to rub those things on the face of the people like that. Saying that if you don't have something you should not give is not actually the main thing that we're discussing about here. I think what the president should be concerned about is a recalibration of the Nigerian mind, a re-engineering of our minds, of our people, of the anyhowness that created those stampedes that you saw. It wasn't just about the fact that those people did not wanted to give what they didn't have. No, it was about organization, it was about modesty, it was about moderation, it was about civilization. At this point in our lives, Nigerians should be educated and orientated about how things should be done in a civilized way. Just like the president said, there are food banks in other countries of the world, but again, people are always orderly, people have to join queues, and which was one of the things that happened during the Muhammadu Buhari military junta. When he introduced the war against indiscipline, you dare not even go to a fuel station and then join the queue. And all of those, I think most of those things need to come back. At best, it should come through the National Orientation Agency. So this is not just a problem of people sharing what they don't have. The president shouldn't have said that. It was, to a large extent, it wasn't okay. I think we should tackle the system, the structure, and the people, rather than attacking what they wanted to do. I think to a large extent, the organizers are good way. They have good intentions, especially because people needed food and all of that. But they didn't plan well. Fine. The complicity of what happened is to be shared by everybody: the government, the security agencies, the organizers, and even the citizens. Every one of us, everybody is involved. That is what the president should have said.
Talking about food, which is the major reason why these issues happen oftentimes, the stampede cases and all of that. The president, when the issue was thrown to him as to his plan towards, making food security and food production efficient, he says that his target is to improve on agricultural product and export. But many will say that we don't even consume enough, not to talk of exporting. So what would you have to say as to the justification of the president's plan and in that regard?
I think food security, food has always been an issue. If you look at the pyramid of need of every individual, every organization, of a group of people, of the society, on whatever level or strata you want to discuss, food is always there. In fact, one of the reasons why you are where you are now is because you need to fend for yourself. It is also why we are out of the house today. It's why everybody is out there. And one of the government must tackle security, must also tackle food. People must be fed. And since the inception of this administration, the government has always been particular about their strategy towards food security. Don't forget that at the inception of this administration, there were several issues about food insufficiency, and the government said they were even going to open a reserve at a particular point in time. But we had issues. Let's take it back from the previous administration, where insecurity was the order of the day. And as much as insecurity was the order of the day, the border was also closed, and so the farmers cannot go to farm because of insecurity, and then the border was also closed, and we couldn't bring food in. And the only place that food could come in at that point in time was from heaven, like what we call manna from heaven. Because if farmers cannot go to farm and the border is closed, then where will the food come from? And when this administration came in, to that extent, the administration opened the border, but food production at the local level is still very low. There needs to go back. And food security is long term and short term. While you are trying to make some immediate policies that will tackle food security, you must not forget what I've always talked about, the Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, food security by parameters. And one of the things, the dimensions, we have 4 dimensions of food security. I've said it severally. Our food must be available, number 1. That is, it addresses the supply of food. Secondly, the food must be accessible to everybody. Then food must be utilized. And like I used to say, the most important dimension of the food and agriculture, 4 dimensions of food security, is that there must be stability of all the 3 dimensions. So if the government comes out today with a plan, with a policy, and after 1 or 2 days we discuss about it, and the government goes back on their plan, there won't be stability of all the other 3 dimensions of food. And so these are some of the policy documents that the government needs to check. It's not just about media chat. It's not just about national broadcast. It's not just about the Minister of Agriculture coming out to say, this is what we'll do. All policies and plans must be backed up with action. And that is why the government, for example, even the president himself, who is the executive president, is in charge of implementation, which is the basic work and responsibility of the executive arm of government. So the president must be seen to be doing all of these things. All these food measures must be done. Indicators must be seen. We must have agencies and departments that are doing this, and people must. When I end on this question, let me just say something. Anything that the president or the government is doing about at all, that people are not feeling it, is a no policy. The people must feel the effect of every policy, because those policies are meant for the people. So if there are food policies that the president is talking about, and food is here specifically in the market, so where's the policy? Or do we have to wait for 4 years? These are some of the things that the president must tackle
Good.
in the context of food security.
Good that you mentioned that part. Part of the things that the president said, he was so proud about his policies, his economic policies, the issue of first subsidy, which he said is a no. He's so proud of doing that, and he said that these policies are necessary. That no matter the outcry, no matter how long, or it is something that just has to be done regardless, no matter the consultation and all of that. And he said that the results will not come in 1 calendar year, but it just has to be done. And he said he was going to do his part in making sure that Nigeria gets back to its full, its right path. Don't you think that that should also be given some, consideration, rather than some criticisms that have trailed this development?
I think the removal of fuel subsidy is something we have discussed. And a lot of us were of the opinion that there was a need to remove fuel subsidy.
No. Apologies. I'm not talking just about the fuel subsidy. Like the president's body language as to, yes, this has to be done. Regardless, we just have to do this.
Well, again, you see, economic policies are usually different from textbook concept and terminologies and implementation. When you pick all of these things, I look at, the president talked about the fact that people were talking about price control, but we needed a free market economy. And you can understand the standpoint of President Tinubu on price control, because it is rooted in the principles of the fact that the government intervention in pricing can lead to unintended consequences. But see, in a country like Nigeria, I understand the president is assertive. He's assertive in saying that there is no going back on all of these policies. He has said it severally that all of the things that Nigerians are passing through now are necessary pain, and that we must endure all of this pain. And you see, but we must always understand things in the Nigerian context. And that is why, see, a lot of people have said that a lot of the government policies are policies that may have been imposed on them by organizations like the IMF. And you know, the IMF over the years, there's what we call one-fit-all policies. Policies that have worked in the West, they want them to work in Africa. But there are peculiarities to every society. Do you get what I'm saying now? Now, the removal of fuel subsidy and other economic policies of the government, the president's insistence on not implementing price control, removal of fuel subsidy, the new tax regime that we're also talking about, those things are things that might surely inflict pains on the Nigerian people, because we have a very high rate of people who are living in multidimensional poverty. And so when you take away what those people are enjoying, which is something that affects the price of foods and services, these people who are poor will feel it. And when the government is also talking about necessary pain, talking about the fact that there's no going back on all of these policies, then we should ask the question that what is also the posture of the government in the context of reduction in the cost of governance? Is the government following up their words with action? Because even if you look at the present budget, there have been so many talks around costs about all of those things that we see in the budget, those luxuries, travel.
Yes. We'll definitely get there. But you mentioned the issue of tax reform, and it was thrown to the president yesterday, where he said the tax reform is here to stay. We cannot continue to do, I'm quoting the president now, he said we cannot continue to do what we were doing yesterday in today's economy. The essence of this tax reform bill is to eliminate the influence of colonial rule on Nigeria's economy. Your take on that?
Well, I understand where the president is coming from. But again, I see so many contradictions in the economic policies. One of the things we have seen about tax is that tax enables the government to generate revenue. And once you can generate revenue, you should also have a cut down on borrowing. Because one of the things that borrowing does is to help you support your deficit in budget and spendings and expenditures. And so maybe in the next 1 year, maybe there's something the president is saying that we are not saying. But beyond all of the rampants, the tax regime, the tax reform you're also talking about has caused a lot of infighting, especially between the regions. The northern governors and the elites, the political actors are saying that no, some southerners are saying yes, it is time for people to reap what they sow. You get what I'm saying? That some northern states are reaping for what they are not sowing, and all of that. And I thought that this should have been a clarion call for some governors who have not been doing anything to speak up and begin to do what they are supposed to do. The government is planning to increase VAT, value-added tax, which is usually removed from the end consumers. That is really the masses. But even when the government is also doing that, the government is also reducing CIT, the company income tax, which to some extent might actually lure some people to actually come and invest in Nigeria when you know that there's a reduction in the number of time. Company income tax is gotten directly from the companies, from their sales services, whether quarterly or yearly. By and large, I think there's a need for us to have a common ground on all of these things that we are doing. It's just a common ground, and that is why we are in federation. Once we have a common ground, and we know the direction to which we are going, then we will have positive results. And very importantly, like I said, every policy of the government must have positive bearing on the people. There's a need for us to have the macroeconomic effects, and there's a need for us to have the macroeconomic effects. We cannot continue to have policies where people continue to suffer. When there continues to be inflation, people cannot even go out, prices of goods and services are going up, there's back and forth between the government and because whenever you want to have a capitalist economy, a fully capitalist economy where we are pushing up, one of the economic forebearers, Adam Smith, is a concept of the invisible hand. And it proposes that individuals should act in their own self-interest because it will lead to socially beneficial incomes. So when, such as efficient allocation of resources like the president is voting for, such as not pandering to price control, because Adam Smith believes that government intervention can disrupt like the natural flow of the market, which is also what the president is talking about.
No.
But these things is just big English.
All right.
It must have effects
All right.
on the common masses.
Yes.
In the market, when you go there, you must buy rice at cheap prices. If not, people will suffer. And it can lead to very, very, very harsh outcomes.
Let me now follow up on your take that every government's policies must have a positive effect on the people. I will now ask that how long should a government policy begin to yield results? Because this government have said that these things cannot, it's not something that can happen by magic. It has to take time. So, and in your own opinion, you have said there must be a positive effect. So how long should a government policy take to begin to
I think
be productive
you
to the
have
people?
asked, you have asked a very, very important question. How long should we wait? You see, personally, I feel that if you want to cut the government some slack, to some extent, because I'm not somebody that cuts any government slack, if you know me very well. I will talk where I'm supposed to talk. But if you want to cut this present administration some slack, like they've been saying, a lot of people have said that past administrations, especially the 8 years of former President Muhammadu Buhari, so many things went bad. Do you get what I'm saying? And that is one of the justifications that the president and so many people who are close to him in his cabinet have always said that things went very bad. If you do not want them to go towards any need for this necessary thing that the president is preaching. However, don't forget that every day people are dying of hunger, whether we like it or not, whether the president wants to admit it or not, because that was one thing he did not want to admit yesterday. People are dying of hunger. Some people will say that maybe it's because the president is not spending his own money, his food, clothing, even the fuel we are talking about, all of those things. People are dying. So must we wait for 4 years when we start another campaign and then people begin to come out and the president wants to be re-elected? The thing is that we must find a way that people must feel all of these things immediately. There are short-term goals, there are long-term goals. And one of the things I've always said about the removal of fuel subsidy was that one of the things the government should have used was a gradualist approach. Maybe remove 40%, look at the outcome and the impact on people, look at how much of impact it will have on the economy, because the government keeps talking about an increasing GDP. But don't forget that an increasing GDP does not usually translate to a good life for the people. Neither does it even translate to a good per capita income for the citizens. And so these are some of the things that you must always check the system to look at the peculiarities of your policies and look at what will happen. But as it is, the president is not backing down. And as it is, he's not even promising that things are going to get better tomorrow. And that is why he continues to preach perseverance, patience, and love for company. Things will be better. But for how long? The thing is that I cannot even give you a straight answer to that question. But I know that as much as the government must be responsible for the people, the government must also be serious about making life better for the people.
All right. Now, let me throw this to you. It was asked as to, on the issue of cutting the cost of governance or cutting government spendings, the president said he has no plan to reduce his cabinet. Being confident about all of them. As a matter of fact, it threw it as a question as to that mention any minister or any person that is not doing well in his cabinet. So he was so confident about their contribution to the development of his administration. So what do you make of the president's attitude towards, reducing government spendings when it comes to the large number of his cabinet?
I think, number one, some questions are political, some questions are constitutional, some questions are moral. Number one, what you just asked, the president has the right. There's nowhere in the constitution that says that the president cannot appoint 100 ministers. You know that it is not a criminal act. Neither is even a civil act. He can, but I've always talked about the peculiarity of Nigerian society. What is the present state of things? And the way the president was asking the question, it was more like Twitter X violence. Violence, like but don't forget, it was still the same president who came with the body language and posture that was going to implement the Oladoyin report, which has been lying fallow for previous administration. We are only paying him service to it. And we discussed this report on radio severally. And the president, there was a need for merger of some ministries, departments, and agencies. There's a need for abolition of some agencies. There was also a need for rationalization of functions. There's a need for reduction of government expenditure. There's also a need for improved efficiency and we can also see effectiveness within the government. And the president came out with this. Nobody is saying what he has done is criminal. Yet the president has a constitutional right to choose whoever he likes. There's no need for him justifying that some ministers are doing that. No. But he came with the posture. He said that you were going to implement it. And we discussed and people were happy and all of that. And some months later, the president went back on his decision and even increased the number of ministers. And this is what we are saying. A leader should not just be making statements because he wants to make the people happy. So people will be throwing parties. You must be very sure they are going to implement those things. We are not in an era where we can afford to spend anyhow. There are some portfolios within the government, the president's cabinet, that can be reduced. For example, the president has at least 3 media aides. At least 3 media aides. Payo Ononuga, Buala who was appointed the other time, also have who again, and all of those things. This is something that just one person can do. It was still on this issue we were discussing about how we packed hundreds of people to COP28. It's still in this context we are talking about ministers doing the work that one person can do. The government needs to show. When the president came in, it was at the same point that Argentina had a new administration. And one of the first things, and we had similarities in our economic landscape, the hardness, the suffering of people at that time. But look at today. To a large extent, the global media is reporting how the Argentina president has turned this around. But more importantly, one of the most important things he did was to cut down on government spending. They cut down to the barest minimum. You can do this in Nigeria.
Now, apart from, before you wind down or before we go to other aspects because of our time, apart from reducing the large number of cabinet members, are there no other areas where governments can cut spendings? Is it just about reducing them? Okay, so what are these areas?
Of course. Look at the 2024 appropriation bill that was presented by the president last week. Look at those details. We've not seen the full details yet. But we've had these issues even from the last budget, from the 2024 budget. The purchase of a new presidential jet, even though we had at least 7 or 8, some even media reported 11 that we had in some places, and they did not sell all of those things. Look at building new residences for people for the vice president that was going to cost millions of naira. Look at what do they call it now? Spoons and forks and plates. All of those things that we saw. Look at the traveling expenses of those people in the government. All of those things. The president came out some time ago that all public officials are to reduce their convoys. He said it. I think he gave them like 5, 6 or so. But I can tell you categorically that nothing has changed. That they still continue with the same number of convoys. So why would the government be making a statement? That is my standpoint. Why would the government be making a statement? Categorical orders given by the president, and nothing is done about it.
Okay. Now, 07047007701 or 07072766278. Those are the lines to call to be part of the conversation as we begin to wind down now. So, there is this... All right, we have a call there. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, my brother.
All right, go ahead.
Yes, Pastor Joseph calling.
Go ahead,
yes,
please.
Let me say this. I don't know why we suddenly forgot the lesson that we supposed to learn from that incident. You know what really happened, and is that this is not the first time people have been giving out. Even the woman that gave out in Ibadan that caused the problem, she has been given everywhere. But what we fail to understand that the level of hunger in the land has increased. Even the issue about the woman said, I call for only children. If you look at the video, old men, young men, they were all everywhere. The man said before 5:30 in the early in the morning, everywhere was filled up. Because there's a hunger in the land. And the president is coming out to tell us now that he has done he has never done anything. People are trying just to help the people. If they have done the needful, people will not be coming out and dying for food. This is Nigeria. We have the resources. What are they doing with our resources? They need to think twice. This is their fault.
All right. All right, thank you. Let's give room for another person. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Peter.
Your name and where you calling us from?
Happy Christmas. My name is Comrade Adamimogo. I'm simply precisely from Mosquito. From my own personal opinion, by the grace of God, as I can understand Nigeria today, there is no hunger. We are parents, cannot care, they cannot care. Let parents take care of their children. Children should not be with watching. What you have at home, let it be sufficient for and your family. The stampede at Ibadan and some other states in Nigeria, I'm sorry for them. So government will not begin to blame government. Government cannot do everything sufficiently for everybody. What you have at home, your children should be able to take it. The people you saw at Ibadan there that died incessantly, something is wrong there because their parents don't take care of their children. Let us take care of our children. People cannot do everything. Governors cannot do everything. Anybody, a personal gathering or a bourgeoisie that has his or her money to organize festivity for people, let us shake our children. What are you going to do there? I am telling you as a son.
All right.
Let somebody bring something out.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you a lot. Thank you a lot. We have to wrap up now. Mr. Perez, I believe you're still there. Hello, Mr. Perez. I believe you're still there. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
All right. Yes. Now, as we wind down, the president spoke about security. He said he's confident about his security architecture, and that the issue of security has been improving so far. What would you say to that as we wrap up on the program?
Well, there are still cases and pockets of insecurity issues that are going to come to. If you are conversant with the news and you're an ex, for example, you know that people are being kidnapped every day. And the government is not there yet. But if you do a comparative discussion analysis of when the president came in, you can also say that it was worse when he came in. You know, there's a difference between improving and improved. So I think the president can. But again, security is all encompassing. We still have issues of state police that nobody's talking about. We still have issues of centralization of the security architecture such that states can actually take control of stuff. So these are some of the things that the government should do to, because as time goes on, you know, some time ago there was a new terrorist organization came out, what they call themselves, even though the Minister of Defense of State said that they've been incapacitated and all of that. The government must tackle it headlong because there are still pockets of issues every day. A lot of them cannot travel on road from one state to the other because they are afraid. So that means that insecurity is still out there. So,
all right. One final question I'm going to ask you before we go is on the stampede. What would you say as to safety measure? What would you say needs to be done going forward? And also, the organizers of I was speaking with someone yesterday, and he said the organizers of the Ibadan Stampede were arrested by the state government, but we haven't heard of any arrest of the organizers of the Abuja and Anambra Stampede, asking some certain questions. So, your reaction to that in few seconds.
Yeah, I think the complicity and culpability of what happened in Ibadan is to be shared by everybody. I've said this earlier. The government, security agencies, the organizers, and the citizens. But I'm more particular about citizens because there's this what I call anyhowness in the Nigerian society now. People doing things without recourse to common sense. How would you go to a place and throw your child over the fence? Is that the fault of the organizers too? Is that the fault of the organizers too? The organizers are complicit because they didn't put measures on that. They're supposed to have ambulance there. They're supposed to have medical practitioners. They're supposed to have security personnel on ground. They know because you know the regularity of Ibadan and all of that. Even the security agencies also have their own blame when these people did not approach you, what you're supposed to do in a sane society is to call on them, you summon them. Yeah, we want to host at least 5,000 people. That is risky. What measures are people taking? That is also what the government needs to do. But there's a need for the national orientation, like I've said it, to do things in local dialects. Go to market, tell people to be modest, to be responsible. And I think that is one of the things that we need to know as Nigerians.
All right. Many thanks a lot, Public Affairs Analyst, Mr. Sheon Perez Adekunle. It's been a pleasure talking to you this time.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot. And that's where we draw the curtain on this morning's edition of the follow-up on Adamimogo 107.7 FM, Ido-Ekiti. It returns again next week. My name is Oladoyin Ayegbusi. Good afternoon and Merry Christmas in advance.